When we think about artificial intelligence, it's easy to imagine algorithms working silently in the background, executing instructions faster than any human ever could. But here's the real question we face today: how much oversight should we actually give these AI agents? Do we keep them on a short leash? Or do we allow them the freedom to act with a degree of autonomy that may challenge our traditional notions of control? This is not a theoretical debate. It is a pressing issue that will determine the future of business, innovation, and trust in the digital age. When we consider the first key point, the balance between autonomy and control, it's helpful to start by recognizing that artificial intelligence agents are designed to do something humans have always struggled with: processing vast amounts of information at speed and then taking action without waiting for someone to sign off on every small step. In principle, that sounds like a dream come true for organizations seeking efficiency. Yet if you allow these agents to act entirely unchecked, you invite the possibility of misalignment, error, or even consequences that no one had predicted. This is where the concept of balance comes in. Companies must learn how to grant enough freedom for AI to be useful, while maintaining sufficient oversight to prevent disaster. Striking that equilibrium is not simply a technical decision. It is a philosophical and strategic one, rooted in how much risk an organization is willing to take and how much trust it is prepared to give. Think about the parallels with human management. In a workplace, when a manager insists on approving every tiny task, it leads to frustration, inefficiency, and wasted potential. Employees who feel micromanaged often lose creativity and motivation. Yet if the manager disappears entirely and provides no direction, the team may veer off course, misunderstand the goals, and deliver results that fall short of expectations. AI agents are no different. They flourish when they are given room to act independently, because autonomy allows them to demonstrate their capacity for pattern recognition, prediction, and adaptation. However, without clear boundaries, their decisions can spiral into outcomes that deviate from human values or organizational objectives. The sweet spot lies in designing oversight that functions less like a cage and more like a compass, offering direction without suffocating potential. One of the greatest mistakes companies make is thinking of control as an on-off switch. In reality, it is a spectrum. On one end, you have full autonomy, where the AI agent operates almost like an independent decision maker. On the other, you have complete human dominance, where the AI is reduced to a glorified calculator that needs permission at every step. Neither extreme is sustainable. The real challenge is building frameworks where control is context dependent. For example, in low-risk environments such as sorting emails or optimizing warehouse layouts, AI agents may require minimal oversight. But in situations involving legal, financial, or ethical implications, oversight needs to be immediate, thorough, and perhaps even embedded at multiple stages. Another factor to consider is trust. Trust is not built overnight. It develops through repeated evidence of reliability. When companies begin deploying AI agents, it is often wise to start with tighter supervision. As the system demonstrates consistent accuracy and alignment with desired outcomes, the leash can gradually be loosened. This phased approach mirrors the way humans build trust in colleagues over time. By monitoring early performance closely, organizations can learn how the AI interprets data, where it tends to succeed and where it falters. That learning curve allows them to calibrate the appropriate level of autonomy without jumping straight into blind faith. Ultimately, balance between autonomy and control is less about technology and more about responsibility. It requires leaders to acknowledge that AI is powerful, but not perfect. It forces organizations to wrestle with the tension between speed and safety, between efficiency and accountability. The companies that succeed will be those that avoid the extremes, those who treat AI neither as a fragile system that needs to be constantly babysat, nor as an omniscient entity that can be left to its own devices. Instead, they will cultivate a dynamic balance, one that adapts to changing circumstances and reflects both the promise and the peril of intelligent machines. When we talk about the role of human judgment in supervising AI agents, it is essential to remember that intelligence is not just about speed or accuracy. It is also about values, empathy, and the ability to weigh the intangible factors that machines still struggle to grasp. AI systems are exceptional at crunching numbers, analyzing patterns, and optimizing for efficiency, but they lack the human capacity to see the bigger picture in moral, cultural, or emotional terms. This is why companies must be deliberate in defining exactly where human intervention belongs in the chain of decision making. The purpose of supervision is not to undermine the intelligence of AI, but to ensure that outcomes align with human priorities, organizational goals, and ethical principles. The challenge is not to duplicate what AI does well, but to fill the gaps where it is blind. Take the example of recruitment algorithms. An AI can rapidly filter thousands of resumes, identifying candidates whose qualifications match the role on paper. Yet what the algorithm cannot do is recognize subtle qualities such as adaptability, cultural fit, or emotional intelligence, attributes that may ultimately matter more to long-term success than technical credentials alone. If a company were to rely solely on the algorithm's assessment, it could unintentionally perpetuate biases, overlook diverse talent, or reduce hiring to a purely mechanical process. Human judgment acts as the corrective lens, stepping in to ensure that decisions are not just efficient, but fair and humane. This same principle applies across sectors, from healthcare decisions that require empathy for patients to financial services that must balance profitability with ethical responsibility. Another dimension of human judgment is foresight. AI makes decisions based on past data and present context, but it lacks the ability to imagine future consequences in the nuanced way humans can. A machine learning model may identify the most profitable short-term investment strategy, but only a human can weigh whether those investments align with the company's long-term vision, sustainability commitments, or brand reputation. In this sense, human oversight provides the narrative arc that AI cannot write. Machines may drive performance in the moment, but humans must ask whether the trajectory those decisions create is one the organization is prepared to follow. It is also important to recognize the role of empathy in decision-making. An AI agent might be deployed in customer service to resolve complaints or queries, and while it can provide instant answers, it cannot genuinely empathize with the frustration or distress of a customer. The choice of when to escalate a situation from an automated response to a human agent is a matter of judgment, not code. That judgment determines whether the customer walks away feeling valued or alienated. Supervision, in this sense, is not simply about correcting errors, but about maintaining the human touch where it matters most. Ultimately, companies that rely on AI agents without embedding human judgment risk creating systems that are efficient but soulless, accurate but untrustworthy. Human oversight should not be seen as a redundancy, but as the moral and strategic compass guiding AI systems. It is what transforms raw computational power into decisions that are not only intelligent, but wise. The future will not belong to those who can build the fastest algorithms, but to those who know where human wisdom must sit alongside machine intelligence. When companies think about supervision of AI agents, they often default to the idea of restriction, as if oversight is about limiting what these systems can do. But the most effective way to view supervision is not as a brake on progress, but as a form of training, much like a coach working with an athlete. The purpose of oversight is not to hold back potential, but to refine it, to provide guidance, and to accelerate growth. AI agents, especially those powered by machine learning, are not static. They evolve through exposure to data, feedback, and corrections. The closer and more constructive the supervision in the early stages, the faster they develop into reliable, high-performing systems. Supervision, then, is less about control and more about coaching, about nudging AI in the right direction so it learns to align with human goals and organizational standards. One way to think about this is through the lens of feedback loops. Every AI agent makes predictions or decisions, but those outputs are only as good as the feedback it receives afterward. Without supervision, an AI may continue to repeat mistakes or reinforce biases because no one is correcting its trajectory. But with active oversight, whether that's humans reviewing outputs, refining training data, or setting performance benchmarks, the AI is continuously pushed toward improvement. This is not fundamentally different from how humans learn. We improve not by operating in isolation, but by receiving coaching, mentorship, and constructive criticism. Supervision provides AI with that same developmental environment. ensuring that errors become opportunities for learning rather than entrenched patterns. Importantly, this approach to oversight also changes the relationship between humans and machines. Instead of treating AI as a black box tool to be feared or micromanaged, organizations can see it as a collaborator with potential that needs nurturing. For instance, in a customer service setting, an AI agent may initially struggle to interpret nuanced language or sarcasm. With the right supervision, flagging incorrect responses, retraining the model, and reinforcing desirable behaviors, the system gradually becomes more competent. Each round of guidance compounds the AI's ability to serve customers effectively. And the company benefits not by limiting the AI, but by investing in its growth. Supervision as training also has a cultural benefit inside organizations. It reframes AI not as a threat to human workers, but as a system that requires human expertise to reach its full potential. Employees become coaches, trainers, and supervisors, applying their knowledge to help AI perform better. This not only creates better outcomes for the business, but also fosters a sense of ownership and trust. Workers are no longer competing with machines, but collaborating with them, shaping their behavior, and ensuring they remain aligned with organizational values. Ultimately, companies that treat supervision as a form of restriction will stifle innovation. They will miss opportunities because they see oversight as a burden rather than an investment. But those that embrace supervision as training will create AI agents that are not only more accurate and effective, but also more aligned with human intentions. The best AI systems in the future will not be the ones that are left alone to operate unchecked, but those that have been guided, coached, and trained by humans who understand that oversight is the fuel for improvement. In this way, supervision becomes not a ceiling, but a catalyst, turning potential into performance. If companies are serious about supervising AI agents effectively, they must confront the issue of transparency and explainability. You cannot manage what you cannot understand, and nowhere is this truer than in the world of artificial intelligence. Many AI systems, especially those built on deep learning, operate like black boxes. They take in inputs, produce outputs, and even the engineers who designed them cannot fully explain how the system reached a particular decision. This opacity creates a dangerous situation. If you cannot trace the reasoning behind an outcome, then supervision becomes little more than blind trust. That kind of trust is risky for any business, particularly when decisions affect customers, employees, or critical systems. Transparency is not about exposing every line of code. It is about ensuring that humans can meaningfully interpret why an AI acted in a particular way. For instance, if a financial AI denies a loan application, the applicant deserves to know the reasons. Was it their credit history, their income level, or some other factor? Without that explanation, customers will feel alienated. Regulators will raise concerns, and the company risks being perceived as irresponsible or even discriminatory. The same principle applies in healthcare, hiring, policing, and countless other fields. Decisions must not only be accurate, they must be explainable. Only then can supervision be effective, because human overseers can evaluate whether the logic aligns with ethical standards and business objectives. Explainability also acts as a safeguard against bias. Data-driven systems inevitably absorb patterns from the information they are trained on, and if those patterns include historical inequalities or errors, the AI will reproduce them at scale. Without transparency, those biases remain hidden until they cause harm. With explainability, however, supervisors can identify troubling trends, adjust training data, and correct systemic issues before they spiral out of control. In this way, transparency is not just a matter of compliance, it is a mechanism for continuous improvement and ethical alignment. There is also a psychological dimension to transparency. People are far more willing to accept an outcome they don't like if they understand the reasoning behind it. Customers denied a service, employees passed over for promotion, or patients offered a particular treatment are less likely to resist or complain if the decision-making process is clear and rational. Supervision, therefore, is not only about technical oversight, but also about maintaining trust between organizations and the people they serve. AI systems that hide their reasoning erode that trust. Systems that can explain themselves strengthen it. Finally, transparency helps companies build resilience. Mistakes and unexpected outcomes are inevitable in any complex system. What determines long-term success is the ability to identify those errors quickly, learn from them, and adapt. Explainable AI makes this possible by turning opaque outcomes into traceable stories. When supervisors can follow the logic, they can intervene at the right moment, fix the flaw, and prevent recurrence. In the end, transparency and explainability are not optional features. They are foundational pillars of effective AI supervision. Without them, oversight is guesswork. With them, oversight becomes a powerful tool for accountability, trust, and improvement. Companies that embrace this principle will not only protect themselves from reputational and regulatory risk, but will also unlock the full potential of AI as a partner in innovation. ChatGPT said, "Supervising AI agents cannot be thought of as a one-time design decision. It must be seen as an evolving practice. Unlike traditional software, AI agents are not static programs that behave the same way day after day. They learn, adapt, and shift as they are exposed to new data, environments, and objectives." This dynamism means that the frameworks companies use to supervise them must also be flexible, capable of evolving alongside the technology itself. Building a culture of adaptive oversight is not about rigid rules that never change. It is about creating a living system of governance that grows smarter over time, just as the AI does. At the beginning of an AI agent's deployment, heavy monitoring is not just sensible, it is essential. The system is untested in real-world conditions, and its responses may contain unexpected errors or misalignments. Close human supervision in these early stages allows organizations to catch issues quickly, refine the system, and prevent small mistakes from snowballing into major failures. Over time, as the AI demonstrates consistency and reliability, the level of oversight can gradually loosen. This transition mirrors how humans build trust in colleagues. The more evidence of reliability, the more autonomy is granted. Adaptive oversight, therefore, is not static. It is a sliding scale that changes in response to the system's maturity and the company's confidence in it. Another critical dimension of adaptive oversight is recognizing that external conditions change as well. Regulations evolve, markets shift, customer expectations rise, and data landscapes transform. An AI system that was well supervised under yesterday's rules may not be adequately governed tomorrow. This is why companies must foster a culture where oversight is regularly reviewed, updated, and recalibrated. Static policies quickly become outdated, leaving organizations vulnerable to compliance risks or reputational damage. Adaptive oversight requires vigilance, the willingness to question whether yesterday's guardrails are still sufficient for today's challenges. This culture of adaptability also depends on collaboration between humans and AI systems. Employees must be encouraged to see themselves not as passive monitors, but as active participants in the AI's ongoing development. Feedback from human supervisors, whether frontline workers, managers, or domain experts, should feed directly into refining the AI's behavior. In this sense, adaptive oversight becomes a shared responsibility, distributed across the organization rather than concentrated in a single department. Everyone who interacts with AI plays a role in shaping its future behavior. Finally, adaptive oversight ensures resilience in the face of unexpected events. No matter how advanced an AI system becomes, it will encounter situations it was not trained for. Static rules will not prepare a company for these surprises. A culture of adaptability, however, equips organizations to respond swiftly. It creates the mindset that oversight is not about preventing change, but about adjusting intelligently when change occurs. This mindset allows companies to harness the full power of AI while maintaining the safeguards that protect trust, accountability, and alignment with human values. In the long run, the companies that thrive will be those that treat supervision not as a fixed control mechanism, but as a dynamic process. Adaptive oversight is the bridge between human responsibility and machine autonomy, ensuring that as AI evolves, our ability to guide and govern it evolves as well.